I started my career many years ago. And the airplanes that I cut my teeth on are, this Boeing 707 and the 727, DC-9s, DC-8s, DC-9s. And those airplanes are now virtually long gone. So we've now moved into the digital era, and it takes a different mechanic to be a digital mechanic. And right now, today, post-pandemic, we're about to go through another dramatic change in the business. And that's just an indication of how dynamic our business is. And we don't throw the people away with the change in equipment. We develop them further on. And many of the people that I trained in my generation are now moving up into the places, the leading positions in this digital airplane world. And many of the students that I see and come in contact with, especially with my skills competition, those students are going to go on into altogether different areas. And recently, when SpaceX launched their rocket with the first one that had a real crew on it going to the space station, the last person to touch the rocket, that closed the door on the rocket, was a student that participated in my skills competition. And it really made me feel proud of that whole system. But that's where we're going. Unlike going to work for a garage, an automotive garage, where you're working on new cars every year, but really not much has changed. In aviation, we go through dramatic changes every so many years. And just being in that field is exciting. Just watching the changes from the outside is exciting. Being on the inside, the training that they have to get. I mean, I was long told way back in school that when you get your certificate to work on airplanes, all it is really a license or certificate to learn, because your learning is just beginning. And the training, as I moved up the ladder and I was under consideration for the job at the National Transportation Safety Board, they asked me to list my training. I tell you, it was almost like a volume in a book, and page after page after page after page of training. And I kept looking even after I submitted that. And I found more that I'd forgotten about. So my advice to any mechanics or technicians that are out there listening to this podcast would be to keep a logbook of what you do. There's commercially available ones that you can buy, and they're already pre-printed, and you just fill them out. But it doesn't have to be that fancy. Just a notebook that says what you worked on, and what airplane you worked on, and what training you received. Even if it's on the job training, it means a lot in the future. It can make a big difference in your life. So many of my peers really couldn't believe, and I couldn't believe, that I was selected by the President of the United States to serve on the board for the National Transportation Safety Board. There's 5 people at the top. And historically, there's never been a mechanic before me or after me in that job. So it was really amazing that I ended up there. And I brought a very different view to the way they investigated accidents. And just recently, I had somebody in the airports area congratulate me for making a difference in the years that I was there. Now, I never look at it that way. I just had a job to do, and I did the job. But when you look back on it, I did make a difference in a lot of the areas. I made people look at things that maybe they didn't want to look at just because it was too difficult or required too much work. So, and as a working mechanic, the amount of work never really entered into the equation of what you're going to do. It needed to be fixed. You needed to go do it. And, I tell people sometimes I have a mechanic's attitude. See problem, fix problem, next problem.